Hello and welcome to the Arsenal BiteSize Podcast. We're here to celebrate the huge last-minute winner in the 98th minute, 3-2 Arsenal Bournemouth. From what I saw, Clayton, the celebrations went a bit overboard for you because it looked like your glasses broke on the day at the stadium. Can you talk us through that?
Honestly, flipping hell, man. I've still got like a fat bruise here, like next to my eye. And as a result, I've got a headache. But it's battle wounds that I would go to war again for lives. I genuinely think that's my favorite Emirates era moment, like quite comfortably. Like that was absolutely ridiculous. I know people talk about the Arshavin Barcelona, like that was just like I don't want to downplay that, but that was like a one-off game that eventually didn't lead to anything, right? Like it was, yeah. At the time, we went toe to toe with like the best team in the world, but nothing came. Like it wasn't part of like the bigger picture. Like there was nothing leading as a result of that. This obviously, I don't know how you felt, but as it was, so we scored the first goal. Party got one back. And then second one went in Ben White. I want to say that was around like the 70th minute, and I was like, we've got this, we got this. And then obviously it comes up to like the 90th minute. I'm like, shit, we do not got this. So I think that's why, in the context of it, felt like it was slipping away from us. And me personally, the way my brain operates, I say it every stream. I can't help myself. I don't do one game at a time. I forward project 5-6 blocks. I can't help it. And I was doing that in the stadium. I was like, oh, shit, this is a big 2 points dropped. Like, and I talk about slippage and buffer room a lot, right? I was just like, oh no, we've used it all up. We've got April where we've got to go away to Anfield, St James's Park, the Etihad, like. And then I think the context of all of that in terms of where my brain was at, it was like, oh my God. Like,
It
what
sounded
the
so
hell?
loud. I wonder, like outside the stadium on the streets in the neighborhood, I wonder what that roar would have sounded like. A draw
Honest,
would not have
yeah.
been good enough, though. You're right. Like, I was sweating it, but I did feel even at 2-0 down, I always kind of felt like we had it in us to come back. But as we got into
Same.
injury time, and their player went down for like a minute as soon as injury time began to waste more time, I was really getting on edge. I was honestly starting to worry. I was just like, you know what? I was like you. I was kind of like, damn, man. Like, you can't become Premier League champions if you drop these 2 points at home. Like, you just can't. You can't.
Yeah. And that just shows how quickly things change, right? Like in that 89th minute, I was thinking, I don't think we're going to win the league, just because if you drop 2 points at home to Bournemouth, there's no room for error then. And like I think we will drop points somewhere, right? Especially in April. I think that's a tough run. Like, and so that's where my brain was. And so like for me, why this was my best moment I've experienced was it feels like it's along the pathway to leading to something big, right? Rather than just like a one-off game. And I know people say, oh, it's just Bournemouth, you should have beat them anyway. But like football doesn't work like that, man. Like the turbulent swings of emotion you experience in 90 minutes, like it's exhausting. Like it's actually
Only
exhausting. And
football could make you feel like this, honestly. Like, I was thinking about this moment and what an advert it is for the Premier League globally. And there's probably people out there, like kids who don't even really like football, and they'll have seen the jubilation by the staff, the analysts, everyone piling in. And I have a feeling there's going to be some new football fans out there in the world, and hopefully also some new Arsenal fans.
yeah, there's one thing you said as well. I'm gonna have a look on TikTok and stuff because there's usually a guy. He lives like the flats opposite the stadium, and he tends to record like the crowd and stuff, and like he tends to catch a few of the goals. And I really want to hear what that sounded like because you're right. I reckon that roar, like in there, obviously it was mental, but from being outside it, oh my God, that must have been ridiculous. But just for context of like, I've seen a few comments about like my
Or what
celebrations
happened
from
to
the weekend.
you?
Yeah, I feel like because there's people that probably aren't on Twitter, right? So obviously, final goal, like to the limbs for like Ben White's goal, like I feel like I've gone under the radar just because it just completely got quadrupled in terms of stature by Nelson's goal. But the limbs for Ben White's goal were mad. Like my mate was on the floor for that goal, like let alone Nelson's one. And so yeah, let me rewind. So in 2014 FA Cup final against Hull, similar thing, right? With two down, comeback and all of that. And I was with my dad for that game, and it was when Ramsey scored the winner. Like, I don't know what happened, but obviously when you celebrate, like arms go in the air, right? And I accidentally punched him in the face, and his like we both wear glasses, and his glasses just went flying, and like they went like 2-3 rows behind, like 10 seats to the right, and like you're just lost in the moment, don't know what's going on, and some random geezer just holding up his glasses, waving them around and stuff. And I feel like Saturday was karma for me because same thing happened to me. So it actually started in the Ben White goal. Goal went in, someone like flung their hat, and I'm quite short, right? So I'm like fucking little guy in and amongst these giants in the first few rows. So some guy accidentally flings me in the head. My glasses went flying for Ben White's goal, but I managed to recover them for that one, and he's flying around in the limbs. And then the final one, that is one of the funniest things I've ever seen at football. And I've been fortunate to have seen a lot of limbs, but like, especially at home, this one was bonkers. The goal goes in, everyone's going absolutely bonkers. Like there's people on the floor, there's people dropping down a couple rows in front, there's people running down like the concourse, like the stairs and stuff like that. And like someone accidentally smacks me. And like it was like an accidental punch to the head. I felt like I got done by Mike Tyson, but the adrenaline, like you're just going with it. You just don't really care what's going on. It's just like, oh my God, we're actually doing this. And I was just clocked. I was like, shit, where's my glasses? I'm like Will in the in-between. Like, I've lost my glasses. And I was just like having a look around. And I saw them on the floor. And I was like, fuck. And someone just trampled on them. And here they are. You can see the aftermath. Can you see that?
They snapped the frame as well, not even just the glass.
Lens. Wait, where's the camera? There's the lens all scratched up and stuff. But honestly, man, it was so funny. Like once the adrenaline wore off, I met my mate after because I had to go home and get my spare glasses. I was like, I've got the fattest migraine ever. Like, it's a joke. But
you're
in
in
the
a boxing ring.
moment, I wish I had a GoPro because, like, as I was looking around and like you're celebrating, you're jumping up with these random people. All I could, mate, there was a guy next to me. His back, he was on the floor. His back was on the floor. I could just see his face smiling, and his legs were just flapping in the air with excitement. I've never seen anything like it. Oh man!
Wait, quick couple shout outs as well to the guys. So Bongo tuned in from Tokyo. He's gonna watch back tomorrow. It's quite late over there on that side of the pond.
Nice.
Pontus Johansson, good to see you. Thank you for tuning in live, buddy. Bobby Love, he's surprised that your limbs are still attached, Clayton. William, what a day. He asks, was it better than the Welbeck moment, Clayton?
Oh, yeah.
I think so. Right?
I think for me, yeah. And again, I don't know if it's just like hindsight and stuff. In that moment, the Welbeck one was unreal, but it didn't lead to anything, right? Whereas this just, I don't know, and it was the context of it felt like it was slipping away, and we can do it. We can really do it. It's going to be hard, but we can.
Celebrating so hard, he got a concussion, commitment.
I feel so bad, man. I was meant to meet Pontus after the game because I think it was his first. Like he was definitely at the game. But I think it may have been his first ever one at Arsenal. And
what a game to be in.
Yeah, and like I had plans to. Like long story short, no one cares about this. I had a birthday party after I was going to, but I am very blind, right? I'm not just these guys that needs glasses for reading. Like I need them for everything. So I couldn't see shit. So I had to run home to go get my spare glasses. And as a result, I missed Pontus. But
that's a shame.
So glad
hopefully
he was there for his first game.
Yeah, hopefully we get a chance to meet him soon. William says you should frame them as a memory, the glasses.
I'm keeping them, yeah.
Bobby says get them signed by Nelson. That would be a big one if you can. And just on this, Bobby, yeah, I wildcarded Ben White out as well, and he scores his first goal. I felt so smug when he wasn't in the lineup as well. That's the best part. And then he gets 7 points and Zinchenko gets 1. So
it's like Martinelli, isn't it? Like you call the minutes correctly, but they still bloody score.
They still score anyway, these bastards. All right, let's when we look at the players, and then we'll talk through some of the key moments. I guess the first key moment was like 8 seconds in, which second fastest Premier League goal in history. It's a bit wild. Like I don't know what it was like in the stadium. Like were people even in their seats by then?
There were still people walking in, yeah, and like the people around me, like we kind of laughed, like you know when you're just in shock and you don't know how to react. Like I laughed, and it wasn't like I was just in shock because what the fuck just happened, like. And I was at the Ashburton lots. I think I was in like the third row. Just couldn't even really get a feel for what had actually happened. Just heard the whistle blow, goal.
Like
Like,
8 seconds
what?
later,
Like,
they've got the ball in the net. Yeah.
yeah, and
I
like
think that
obviously, so
changed
I've
the
got
game completely, right? So I almost feel like if that doesn't happen, it's a routine 2-3-0 victory. But once the team comes to the stadium and they're fighting for their life and they get that goal in 8 seconds, it really gives them confidence to frustrate you and kind of keep you out. And then they go second one ahead. I don't think they would have created the chances they did if we weren't so desperately searching for the equalizer, right?
yeah,
Kind
that's
of
a good
felt
point.
like that's part of the reasoning. I think we maybe looked a bit more open, but
That's a really
overall,
good point. I hadn't thought
yeah,
of it like
because that
that.
was one
Yeah,
of my main thinking, right? Like you look at it, and by the end of the game, when you look at the sheer numbers, I think it was the most crosses we've had into the box since Arteta took over. Like 36 crosses in. Like we were just, I think it was the most touches in a penalty area box this season. Like it's like over 64 touches in the box. It just something felt off about that game, and there's a few moments I don't want to talk about refs because we do it most weeks, but
no, we need to, man. Like that,
but like
honestly.
to an extent. So like obviously like I've seen the photo after, and the guy who delivers the crossing for the goal in 8 seconds, he's encroaching and he's in our side of the
Yeah,
pitch when the whistle goes. So I do kind of look at that and I think to
it wasn't
myself,
just
like,
him. I feel like there
but
was
there's
two or three
multiple
of them.
players. Yeah, no, there's
Yeah,
multiple players standing in our half when the kickoff got taken, and thank God we got the result. But I just find it incredibly confusing how like lines get forgotten to be drawn. Like players can start in our box and like it's not restarted the game for kickoff. Like just the sheer number of times like these things happen. And there was a few apologies to us and other clubs earlier, like a few weeks ago, but they've been very quiet on the apologies front lately. They just seem more focused on investigating us and fining us every week for a
yeah.
celebration or for not controlling the players, crowding the ref. You got to like, where's that same energy to like investigate all the mistakes the refs are making, right? And the VAR are making. So I found that incredibly frustrating. I love your perspective on the kind of the four, I think it was about four handball calls that VAR looked at. I don't think any of them were like 100% handball.
Really,
They were
I think one of them was the is it Mepham or Mepham, however you
when
say
he's
his
like
name.
got his arms inside, but then he like moves to block
No,
it
no,
and it
so
hits the.
actually, no, maybe I'm thinking of the wrong player then. But it's the one where the ball's like in the air and it comes down and it hits him there. And like,
Hmm.
for, I think that's a blatant pen. Look, I personally don't really see the argument against. I'm not.
Well, if you look
I'd
at
love to know.
yesterday, or if you look at last night, Brentford got a penalty for a similar thing,
Oh, is it? I've not
similar
seen
kind
it.
of incident that we didn't get. So it is very frustrating. I think from my point of view, it was just frustration I felt because you think that if there's going to be four reviews of potential handballs, like just based on odds, like surely one of those subjective calls might go your way. I know the
Yeah.
threshold has been increased. A few years ago, do you remember like just having arms meant penalties would be given in the box?
Yeah.
So I'm not asking for
I
that.
remember in FPL, everyone was going for penalty takers, weren't they? As a result.
Exactly. Like there was genuinely like there was something like in the first 8 weeks there was like more penalties than half the season before it, and
Yeah.
mid-season they changed the directive to kind of make the threshold a bit higher. So I'm glad they did. That's fine, but it
What's the
just
what? So what were the incidents? So I'm having a mind blank. So I remember there was the kick on Tomiyasu. I think
hmm.
that's a foul. The other one, I'm probably not describing it correctly, but I feel like people will know what I mean. It went
I
in
know what
the
you mean,
air,
where the ball's
and the
coming
guy
down
was
from the
jumping.
air and he's jumping
Yeah,
up
and
and it hits like the
that
lower
that for me,
arm
I
kind of.
think is blatant. The third one, I remember the one you just said, where like he moves himself. I, for what it's worth, I don't think that's a pen,
Yeah, I
but
wouldn't have been
I'm
happy if that happened to
I
us.
forgot what the fourth one is.
So there was the one where the defender kind of takes it and it hits the post. So it hits his arm and off his arm onto the post and then it gets cleared. And
I
that
think
was
that's
just
the
like
same one I
seconds.
was thinking
And
of.
I think
Right,
that was probably seconds after Tomiyasu got taken out as well. So it's like the
right.
Tomiyasu incident didn't get reviewed, but then the potential handball did.
I'm
I,
not gonna lie. I think the Tommy one, like, I think that's if I had to rank them, like, I think that is
I was going to ask
it's
you
a
about that
foul. Like,
because I've watched the replay multiple times and it kind of feels like he goes through Tomiyasu from behind and takes him out, doesn't get the ball. But then you don't really see Tomiyasu or the players like crowding the ref or like
do they not
waving
know?
their
I've seen
arms
the
or like,
high.
yeah, like none of them seem to really call for it. And I don't know if
That
like,
probably plays a part. To be fair,
yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Do you think maybe if we'd made more noise, like would that have been reviewed? Because I did find that very weird. But despite all their best efforts to not give any penalties and letting them score that first goal in that fashion, I think when I look back on it, I'm kind of glad those things didn't happen? Because had we won that game with a penalty and then we came back
Yeah,
and it was 3-2 with a penalty, I don't think we'd have the emotional roller coaster that just
no.
brought the squad together the way that I think that was like that moment will be remembered as one of many big memories this season. It's obviously our third injury time winner. To win in that way and to just not give up and keep going, I think that's going to do a lot of wonders for the team.
Yeah, in a really weird way, I think it's helping us. And like, hear me out, like, because it's
Yeah,
like it's character building, like it's the resilience. Like the other games, like there's been calls go against us, and this team they just find a way to make it happen. And it's so funny how narratives get spun because I guarantee you, if this was Man City, people will be going, "This is what champions do," but because it's us. It's unsustainable. It's lucky. It's like fuck no, man. Look at the stats. Like in all of these lucky wins, we have dominated. Like even this, like I've not actually seen the stats myself, to be fair,
I
but
guess we'll
I'd
see
be
them on the
pretty
next
confident.
slide. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'd be pretty confident that we created more than enough to deservedly win. And like Odegaard had a shot from outside the box that then got parried. Saka could have, should have squared it to Martinelli for an open goal.
There was
We
also the
were in the right
Odegaard
areas.
cross to Saka where Saka could have scored as well. There was a few incidents
Yeah,
where
exactly. Yeah, I was
it
having
wasn't our day. But
Mate,
I just
we're
don't.
ridiculous. Like I know on the face of it, this was a very, yeah, it was a last minute winner, right? Like I'm not going to deny that, but if you just take the context of everything, like it was a dominant display, and the goal was a freak goal to concede. And I must add to that, ignoring the encroachment. Well played to them. It was quite a
You know
nice routine,
that yeah, like
and
I think like in reality, like we were fully switched off. Like how we let that happen, that's definitely on us.
who do
So
you think? Like, obviously, we don't like blaming people, but I'd like who do you think was at fault for that goal? If you had to, because
this
I
is a
think a
weird.
few people defended quite badly there.
Yeah, so I need to rewatch it, but my first impression was that I didn't feel Saliba was in the right place in the box. But in hindsight, what I think is that when Xhaka plays, we always kind of complain about like him losing the ball in the final third sometimes. And I think we don't appreciate some of the things he does that are not the sexy things. And he does drop into that kind of left back, left center
The
midfield
quarterback,
defensive role.
yeah.
Yeah, and I feel
So
that
you think he may have stopped the cross then?
yeah, I have a feeling that we just, we had new personnel, like Vieira wouldn't play in the same way. Like we were setting up to play against a deep block, and we thought this was the ideal home game for Vieira to come out. And I just think that obviously he's not maybe the same defensively as Xhaka is, and I think we
Yeah.
saw that in the way we were sliced open because I don't think Xhaka would have at kickoff left that space there.
No,
But
that's a
that's
good
just more
point.
a recent thought that I have because
No,
I
no,
do
I
think
I
that
think that's a fair
yeah, because
shout.
at
Yeah,
first I just blamed Saliba at first, but I don't know. I think it's harsh. Like
I do think Saliba was ball watching a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Like Gabriel, well, so first of all, I agree on your point on Xhaka. I think, yeah, that cross probably doesn't come in if he's around. And then Gabriel obviously doesn't make clear contact with it, and maybe it is a bit harsh from Saliba because there is that ricochet of Gabriel, but it just felt like he was a statue. Like it felt like the ball ricocheted off Gabriel, and Billing reacts and Saliba doesn't. On Billing, by the way, do you remember in the fucking preview when Bungle said Billing?
that Billing was going to score the
I
goal.
thought
Yeah.
of him in the stadium. I was like, no way. Like, how has that happened? But yeah, no, fair play to them. Like, I know there was encroachment, but it stood and like well played. It was a well worked goal. And then the second one, like, I mean, to be honest, they had a couple chances. Like Ramsdale made a
I was
bloody
gonna
good
say,
save
like,
to
I know
keep.
the rating here isn't like very good for him from FootMob, but
Maybe
that
we should
save he
start
made,
photoshopping our own ratings on
yeah,
top of his graphic.
maybe. Because honestly, like, I think that save was as good as the goal. Like, without that, we don't
Yeah,
have the platform to come back and win.
yeah, completely agree. I forgot what the state of the game was at the time. I want to say it was still 1-0 to them before halftime, maybe, but my God, like that was ridiculous. And like you say, that gave us the platform to then go on. Because if that's 2-0, then my word, like, I don't know, then you're really up against it. And then, yeah, obviously their goal, the other goal was a nice set piece, which we didn't defend very well again. And then it was all uphill from there. But this team, I'm not going to lie, when it was 2-0, I thought we could claw it back to a draw, and like as the clock was going, I thought, not sure now. And then Party got his, and I thought, okay,
I was going to
I
say
think at
that
that
goal came at a very important time because I
was
feel
that
that,
around like the hour mark, right?
yeah, exactly. And it was only shortly after their goal. So I feel like had there been like another 10 minutes at 2-0, I don't see a way we would have come back. So like that timing of that goal, that was phenomenal. But not only did he obviously score, but then he was so pivotal to the Ben White goal because I know Nelson delivered the cross, but Partey like went past three players to give that ball to Nelson
Yeah, it was a
before the
really nice
cross.
dribble, wasn't it?
It was really good. So I do think he would stand out in the second half, making sure he could come back in. And Nelson as well, like wow, like
Mate,
you come on and like instantly you assist the equalizer, 98th minute. Have you seen they spoke to him about like what went through his head? Like there's an interview
no.
on Arsenal.com where they just asked him like, what did you do when he took the shot? Like how did you decide? And he goes, obviously the ball ricocheted out and like I took it down. And he's like, I was gonna shoot on my right foot, and then like I saw that there was loads of players in the way, and I just made a split-second decision that I've got to shoot this on my left foot. So between him chesting it and the ball going down, he just made that split-second decision in the 98th minute. I'm going to have to shoot this from my fucking left foot. And he said, I went for top bins, and that's that.
He was so calm as well, like in his celebration. I
Yeah,
think
in
he
the
was in
celebration, he
shock,
was the
to be
only
honest.
calm player there. Like I saw him just ice cold running along. Saliba didn't know what to do with himself. I saw him just running towards the corner
he
flag.
is mental. Like you said, some of his facials when we scored, he's got a screw loose, that guy.
Yeah, so he went wild, and then obviously like a few seconds later, Ramsdale arrives as well. Then I noticed afterwards that the reason we're going to get this fine, I know who instigated all of this now.
Oh,
So if you
what
look
happened?
carefully, not that the staff weren't really running on the pitch or the subs, but it was Jorginho who started the mosh pit. Like he ran
Oh,
on, and then everyone else saw him in his like little bib, and then everyone piled onto the pitch. But like he was the first culprit to run on and create the mass chaos.
have you seen the videos of him coaching like from
I
the
was
side
gonna
and stuff?
say, so he was warming up, right? But he
Yeah,
just kind of like ran up. He was shouting instructions to players who were on the pitch, telling them where to go. It was mad.
yeah, and you can tell like Arteta has got these play like we speak about Odegaard and Xhaka being coaches on the pitch, right? Like you can tell there's 5 or 6 of these in the group, and they're important to him and everything he does, right? And yeah, I think very, very shrewd signing from like you called it, to be honest, on all the off the pitch stuff, but like when you
Like
see it
the
in the flesh
leadership,
and see,
yeah.
yeah, like we all knew about the leadership, but I don't know, there's something different when you actually see that like level of coaching from the side being implemented
You
in
don't see
such
many
high stakes
players do
environment.
it, right? Like you used to see Arteta do it with Wenger when he played under
Yeah,
Wenger. Arteta used to do it. Certain players they just have it in their DNA, I think, to become a coach. But then
yeah.
when you look at, I don't know if you saw the video today. There's a video that Jorginho put on his Instagram,
Oh,
and
Jesus learning to drive.
Jesus is having a driving lesson, and Jorginho is just like comes up to the car and like he winds down the window and starts chatting to him. But like just to see that camaraderie, like I never
Yeah,
thought that this quickly, like a month after he joined, he would just feel like part of the family. And
I
I think
know.
that's a big testament to this club. And Kivior said the same. He came to watch his first game at the stadium after he signed. He wasn't obviously on the bench or anything. And they came and grabbed him and said, "You got to come to the dressing room." And he went in and
Yeah.
saw the celebrations while his missus waited outside. And like, it's just very inclusive, and everyone's fighting for their spot, and
It's a big
everyone
family,
knows
isn't
their
it? You can
role.
tell.
You remember what Sanchez said when he left, right? He called his coach after one training session at United and said, "Please, bruv, like cancel this. Can you send me back? Like, what have I done?" I think you sometimes don't know how good you have it till it's gone. But Arsenal's very much a family environment, and I just loved it. And for Nelson, I think part of those reactions, it wasn't just the last minute nature of it. I think it was the fact that obviously he looked really good when we saw him,
Yeah.
and there was injuries to key players,
He
and it
was
looked like
looking
he had
sharp
spotted the
before,
team.
right?
Yeah, and then he got that injury. He's had a tough couple months. He couldn't obviously like do anything. His contract's up in the summer, and people forget like he's the original Halem boy. Like
Yeah.
he was here. Arteta when he arrived benched record signing Pepe to play Nelson at right wing.
Yeah.
He benched him to play fucking Nelson, and he trusted him then. 3.5 years, 3 years go by, and Nelson's watched the entire rest of the Hayland Academy come in and play a big part. And in your
rise
head,
to
like
stardom. Yeah,
exactly, you must be thinking like, what the fuck happened? Like him and Sancho were there as like the two best young, promising English talents, and he was considered to be the better one at the time. Like
yeah,
it was just wild. And I think I told you this, that game when he came on and scored the brace earlier
against
this season.
Forest.
Exactly. So I remember Saka came off early. He had that knock, and there was a fan next to me, like an older geezer. And instantly he was like, "Oh, I don't really rate Nelson," and I was like, "Oh, like I think he's one of our own, and like like trust him." Like,
Yeah,
to be
trust him.
fair to
Yeah,
this guy, once he scored, like the guy's like, "Oh, you know what? I'm wrong." He just held his hands
yeah.
up.
At
And I
least
think,
he held it. Didn't do
yeah,
it. Gary Neville, no. Didn't double down on
exactly.
it.
But I think for me, it was just very emotional, that stuff, because I loved Nelson. Like
Yeah,
honestly,
same.
like he was supposed to be like what Saka is now. Like that was who he was from Halen. Like that's how exciting a prospect he was. And he's still fucking young. He's still like
Well,
22,
yeah,
23.
he's still got. I don't think his chapter's done. Like before his injury, he was looking good. He was looking really good, and like
And in
I
the
know everyone's
preseason,
gonna
he looked
get.
good as well, right? Like so
Yeah,
whenever I've seen him, right, he does something that most of our players, I don't think they have those
he
attributes. Like his
he's
ball
unique in the
control.
squad. Yeah,
Yeah, but like his ball control and against a deep block, the chaos. I don't know if you saw it, but when he first came on, there was a moment where I think he was like dropping a bit deeper, and it might have been Zinchenko or one of the other players in that left hand side, maybe even Xhaka because he'd come on by then. They were like, no, 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 go up the pitch, just go as far up as you can and cause chaos because they were like, we need this. We need another guy up there just causing absolute chaos, just dribbling past
yeah.
people, close control, keeping the ball, retention
That's
in the wing. Like he does
yeah.
a
He
lot of
gives us
stuff that
something
we don't
different
have.
because Saka's like all rounded in what he can do, but as a result, gets targeted. Martinelli, like he's good in tight spaces, but he predominantly relies on space. Nelson is just like a traditional winger. He give it
Mm.
outside, inside. He'll dribble. He'll take you like he is. He gets the ball and he wants to turn and take on a man. Whereas I feel like a lot of modern technical footballers like to get it, have a few touches. Like he's quite direct in what
He's
he does,
very direct. Yeah.
but and think that's what he gives, like the ability to change directions and so he's very good. And I think obviously he contributed end product wise, so he got a goal and an assist, and obviously it was a last minute winner, so everyone's going to remember that. But I think his cameo was absolutely mental. Like, forget the goal and the assist, just
Yeah.
the urgency in what he was doing. Like, I actually think that cameo was up there as one of the best. And yeah, I'm so happy he's around now because yeah, he gives us something different, and I think he'll be
I
utilized in
hope
the
he
running.
starts on Thursday, man. I think he should start, and Saka should get a rest, hopefully, in the Europa against
Be
Sporting away.
interesting to see what team we put out because obviously Trossard went off. What's obviously Nketiah's still touch and go. Did Smith Rowe go off as a tactical thing or was he injured?
Yeah, so I think it's a combination of tactical and like he'd played more than they would have wanted him to play in the first place because he came on earlier
Right,
than they were expecting.
he did,
But I think
yeah.
we got a call.
Because
So I
Trossard went off on 30th
20
minute.
minutes, yeah, 20,
Oh, was
30
it?
minutes. So I
Okay.
think by the time he went off, maybe Smith Rowe played about 60 minutes or so. But obviously he also contributed as well, didn't he? So that,
Yeah.
that was nice to see. But
Although
I
he
think,
contributed, I think he's still looking a little bit off the pace though.
oh well, yeah, definitely. I think he needs to be slowly wedded back into the team. It'll be
Yeah.
good to see if he also gets maybe a start in the Europa. But I think the thing for me about these guys is I normally am quite harsh critic of Arteta in terms of I've told you that I think he can be quite stubborn and like like I think we are like on average our first sub is like the 19th latest in the Premier League this season. Like
You
we
know what
will
my story's always been on why though, right?
that the other teams get the first 11 wrong. So but we
No, no,
obviously
no.
have
Like on Arteta. Like I firmly believe it's just been because of he's not had the players that he's trusted. Like,
to be able to bring on
and
someone
I
he
think
actually
now you're
trusts.
seeing he's got this squad. He's flexing his muscles. Like, I've firmly been in that camp the whole time. Like, I think he's only had 13, 14 that he actually trusts. And I think now he's got 15, 16. He's making those proactive subs. And like, sorry to interrupt you. I feel like you're about to say like fair play that he brought on Smith Rowe, but then he
No,
took him off,
like I
right?
was wrong. Yeah, that's what I mean. So I was wrong on him in the sense that maybe it is what you're saying that when he does then have the personnel available, he will make those difficult decisions because no one wants to sub off someone who subbed on. And when obviously the player he brought on for him added so much directness, as you say, and contribute to the equalizer and the winner. So that's a hard decision for him, and he made that, which is fair play to him. He also noticed when he thought, we need a bit more stability, brought Xhaka on, took Vieira
Yeah.
off. Like, he had no qualms subbing off Tomiyasu at half time. So it's like,
Oh,
these
I
were
forgot about
very
that.
important decisions. And for me, this was the game where I thought his in-game management, it was the best I've seen of him so far. Like, he made calls that were difficult to make early parts of the game to try and turn the tide. And I was really impressed. And maybe the reason he didn't do it before is because he didn't have the personnel, as you say.
Yeah, that's what. Well, I'm not saying I'm right, but that's always been my belief anyway. And like, I think we've seen it the reverse of the Tomiyasu Ben White against Man United. Ben White was having a bit of a stinker on a yellow. Boom, Tommy came on at half time. And again on Saturday, like, I didn't think Tommy was doing well. I don't think it needs to be blown out of proportion like I've seen on Twitter. Like, I still think Tommy's a good option, but I've seen people trying to retire him. Like, I think he had an off game. Like, I personally think this was an
note, actually,
anomaly.
what do you think about this? Last time, remember I told you that they asked Arteta, like, if the championship was on the line and there was a 1v1,
who would you want to
and like,
defend?
which defender would you want to defend? And they said Tomiyasu, and he said, like, we don't care about the mistakes against City. So I was listening to I think it was Clive on Arsenal Vision, and he said something very interesting. He essentially said, like, last season he was one of our best players, and he wondered if that was because we were more defensive then. So, like, we were doing more defending, and he was therefore one of our best players because he's a fantastic defender. But this season, we're dominating teams more, and we're in their third and in their box a lot more. And he wondered if, as technically gifted as Tomiyasu is and as strong a defender as he is it that he's just not able to kind of do that transition to the new style of play we have? So he didn't think that, like, oh, he's bad, we need to get rid of him or anything like that. He expected that should Tierney move on, that Tommy might end up becoming like the left back cover, and we actually go and target like another versatile right back, like that Fresneda we were looking at. So he was thinking that rather than like, oh, we have these two right backs, Ben White and Tomiyasu would become that left back cover for Zinchenko. Tierney would move on, and we'd get another right back as well. So that was kind of his theory.
To be honest, but I think the other thing as well is, like, we've evolved as a team in how we attack and defend, right? So last year it was Tommy, White, Gabriel, Tierney. We didn't have a Zinchenko, and like, we weren't doing these clever things that we are now, and that completely changes the game. Zinchenko coming in has completely changed the game on how we defend as a unit and attack as a unit, and what's required from that right back. Like, the right back is like it's like a key to unlock everything in what White does. And like, White's role is quite frankly ridiculous what he does in the way he tucks in, creates a three. He then goes and supports Saka, like, and then Gabriel and Saliba as well. The amount of ground they have to cover, right? It's literally just them as a two, as we've spoken about a lot. So that's what I do think. Some of the analysis on Tommy is very, very harsh, because I do think the game state, if we're not 1-0, if this is just a bog standard home game where Bournemouth don't go 1-0 up in 9 seconds, and then they don't go 2-0 up through a set piece, and it's a 0-0, it's a home game where we're going to dominate a lot of the ball, I don't think anyone notices Tommy, like, which isn't a bad thing. I think it changed the whole dynamic of the game, in that, like, we were having to go for it. It's like we have how we play, but we had to do that on crack. And I think that's where you needed White, who he's very unique in what he does. But I stand by, Tommy's a more than comfortable, good right back option. Like, I maintain
we'll
that. And I
him in
think
the
people
Europa
are too.
As well.
I just think people are a bit too quick to, like, retire players. Like, you can have an off game. Like, game state can dictate that you look a little bit out of place in a team that's evolved a little bit. And like, I thought as well, I agree with what Clive said. I just think I've seen other people saying, like, oh, we need to completely move on from him. Like, I don't buy that at all, to be honest.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to move on from him. I think he has credit in the bank after what he did for us last season as well. And, it's even this season, what he did 1v1 versus the likes of Salah, what he did versus Son as well. So he's been pretty key for me. Lee Hammond as well. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in.
That's my mate.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so I think he makes a really interesting point as well, which is true. I think I have noticed this now that you mention it, that he says for the podcast listeners that Tommy tends to grow into games after a bit of a wobbly start, and he thinks he's a person that would benefit from a run of regular games, even though he won't get it. So I think that's a good point, because we've talked about this, that it's really hard if you're not playing a run of regular games to, like, establish yourself and build that confidence to not have those shaky starts. So maybe if, like, Europa is somewhere where he could start regularly, maybe that will kind of prepare him for when we do need him in the Premier League in the run-in as well. So yeah, I'm still
definitely. That's
big
a
on
good
him.
point.
What are your thoughts on so obviously Trossard went off. I don't think he'll be ready to travel, but there's good news that it
No.
could only be a couple of weeks. So
That's a blow, though, isn't it? Like, it'd be
it
interesting
is
to
a
see
blow.
what we do on. Yeah, and obviously Martinelli kind of went up top, didn't he? And looked pretty good. But yeah, that's a blow. Like going to Fulham if Nketiah's not around, if Trossard's
No, Bella.
still up.
I'm just trying to
Yeah,
stop the dog from barking.
that's all good. Yeah, if Trossard's
No,
out as
Bella.
well.
No, Bella. Every time
Um,
I unmute, she decides to bark when I'm unmuting.
That's all right. She doesn't like Trossard's injured either.
She's not happy about it. It's bad news for us. But yeah, no, I do think that with him and Jesus not quite back now, it does worry me a little bit, genuinely, because as much as Martinelli can play through the middle, I think he still plays better off the wing and having a striker to interchange with and cut into the center when they go wide. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure of it, like just him being the focal point. Of
What was the
attack
actual Trossard injury? I've not actually seen what it was.
So he just kind of felt something, and I think he went straight over and said, "Look, I feel something." Like I think it may have been like his hamstring, but they're saying it's not that serious, and there's more scans to be done. But they think it's quite minor and like maybe a 2-week setback. But so the good news is it's not like season ending or anything, because with hamstrings, you know, it can be quite serious, right? So yeah, so I'm just glad that it's not too serious. What did you think of Odegaard? We're not talking about too much, but obviously, like I think I had a look at the stats, and he took a disgusting number of shots.
He was like, from a fantasy football thing, how he didn't get any returns, I have no idea. But yeah, he was just like the conductor, weren't he? Just at the heart of everything. Like, I'd love to see stats on what his shots were and stuff, because it did feel like he had quite a few. It felt like he was always involved when we were going forward. And yeah, obviously Blue Daniel Joe's point here. Good evening, guys. On Saka, Martinelli, and Odegaard in game week 26. How did they have no goal involvement? Like, that is ridiculous. I have no idea. And there was a few, weren't there, where it was quite close. Obviously, a shot from outside the box earlier in the first half. Saka then had the rebound, which was saved. Martinelli was just next to him if he squared it. Like, I think that was just a freak game week, to be honest.
So I have the numbers up. He had 11 shots.
All right. Flipping out.
He took 11
interested
shots.
to see what like his XGI was or something, because I like they will. I feel like he had quite a few good quality chances and stuff, but
he did. There was a few. So there was 5 blocked shots, which you can imagine the way they piled into their box. There was 3 off target, 3 on target. I do think he does. He has been shooting more. There was some games recently where he took like 6 shots, and you know he's obviously on 9 Premier League goals, just behind Saka and Martinelli. So he's definitely evolved from last year. In terms of last year, we'd find he tried to pass rather than shoot, and he does shoot more.
His technique's clean when he shoots as well, though, isn't it?
I was going to say, it's a very slick shooting technique. Like, I can't comprehend it. Like, it's actually very good. He's technically gifted, right? I just think that when we're playing these kind of teams, we've had to end up, like, just taking these potluck shots. And if you think about it, without them, we wouldn't have won this game. So hear me out. So right at the end, at the death of it, when the last ball rebounded out for the 50th shot that was blocked that game, it was Zinchenko went, chased the ball that like wasn't going to go anywhere, had a shot that got blocked, and that's what then led to the corner right at the end that got us the winner. So it's like we were chasing it, and no matter what, it's like if you're just taking these shots at these deep blocks, you get a fortunate ricochet somewhere. Somewhere along the way, you're going to get that goal. But and we saw it against Spurs, right? Like Partey,
you put them under stress, isn't it? Like that's you
just got to constantly bombard them. You just got to keep up, because otherwise, what happens
them pinned in,
because otherwise, what happens is you just pass around their box, and I think you said this a few episodes ago, where like that horseshoe of just like going around the edges of the box, and
there's no incisiveness in that. Yeah, exactly. Like that's the thing. Like I feel like in modern football, everyone thinks everything has to be a perfectly curated goal. Like, no, you can just like through shit. Like that's what Liverpool, the best Liverpool team of the last few years. They were just relentless, weren't they? It was just complete ferocity, and you just knew it was like a overwhelming feeling of they're just going to score from sheer like persistence here. Like they're just going to break through you, and that's okay. Not everything has to be perfectly curated. You can cause chaos and create openings through mistakes, Like, and I think that's what. Yeah, you're right. That Zinchenko moment was brilliant because that led to it, and a bit of a separate point, but like. I'm so happy for him, Ben White, that he scored his first goal. But I wish it was in a circumstance, an environment where everyone remembers that moment because like, he's such a cult hero, and like you see him like he was running, he was like smiling, then he ran off trying to be serious, and then he started smiling again. It's like he wanted to properly celebrate it, but he couldn't. But really happy that he got off the mark, and then yeah,
That was
like
great
you said,
technique from him as well, right?
it
Was it on a
was,
half
yeah,
volley or
it
was
was
it
like
a
on the half
volley?
volley, yeah.
Yeah, half volley.
And he was
That,
fairly
that, that
far
that was
out.
really
Like
good.
it wasn't exactly like on the penalty spot. Like
No,
the
no, it was
angle
pretty
was a little
difficult,
bit.
I think. I think it was difficult. And obviously, like, once I saw the replay, at first I was nervous, but once I saw the replay, it was well over the line. So I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
it's fine. Like, we're good here. I always worry that they're going to put, like, whenever we score now, right? I have so much PTSD that I just feel like any goal we score could be ruled out at any time. Like, I just can't celebrate anymore the way I used
I
to.
know.
Like I celebrate and then I stop and then I wait and I like look around. I'm like, is there any VAR? Is there anything? It's just it's killed some of my excitement, but maybe that's just modern football nowadays.
Oh, I still go for it like an idiot.
Even if it gets disallowed later, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the amount of like even I was at the women's final with my sister on. Oh yeah, shout out to the women because
Oh, they
they
won the
won they won
Conti
the League
Cup.
Cup final, beat
Yeah.
Chelsea, scum. But yeah, even at that game, like we scored, and like me and my sister were celebrating, and then you see the offside flag. I was like, oh crap! But like, that's just how I am as a person. Like, I'll take looking like an idiot. Like, I would. I'm very present in the moment. That sounds very cringe, but like, I just I react like to what I see. So I think I'll always just go for it. I don't think VAR will ever let me stop. Will ever stop me celebrating and stuff. I think I'll always go for it, and I'll just take the L if it ends up being the other thing. But yeah, the ladies did good
Yeah, no, that's awesome. The Arsenal
because they were one
winning.
0 down as well. And I was thinking,
Yeah, it's
like, and to be
3-1 in
honest,
the end, wasn't it? For anyone who
yeah.
didn't keep up with that.
And I went into it thinking Chelsea were going to win, to be honest, and I kind of warned my sister because like I'm trying to get her into football and women's football, so I like, just warned her to set expectations. And then yeah, what do I know? Like 1-0 down and quite a comfortable 3-1 win in the end.
Yeah, no, Emma Hayes is a great manager as well. I've seen her when she does punditry, and she is
Wow, have
so
you
much
seen her
better than
comments
half the
though?
pundits. Oh no, afterwards she's obviously bitter and salty, but
Very Chelsea that.
it is. But when I've seen her like commenting on like tournaments, international tournaments and stuff, I felt that she like understood the role better than like all the pundits we see all the time. Like they all just chat shit about narratives. She did research and came with like data and like
Yeah.
actual like interesting football analysis. I find so many pundits are lazy these days. So from her punditry point of view, I always thought she's quite interesting. But quick shout out to Mike Halpin, thanks for tuning in as well, and obviously Joe as well. I had Saka, Martinelli, and Zinchenko, so I think they combined for a grand sum of like 3 or 4 points for 3 players. So it was painful to say the least. Okay, cool. Let's go to the stats. I think, unless there's any players on the screen that you feel we
No,
haven't kind of mentioned, but I think we covered all of them.
I think we've covered most of it. Yeah, all good.
Cool. So for the podcast listeners, obviously we're looking at the Marcar stats on Twitter, his cumulative XG and cumulative expected threat graphics. So in the 43-minute timestamp, if you want to see the visuals. So the cumulative XG for Arsenal 2.44 versus 1.62 for Bournemouth. Expected threat 2.36 to 0.7. Possession 80% to 20%. Field tilt. This is just disgusting. 93%.
That's the record, isn't it?
That is the record. I don't know what game you'll find in Europe that has this, but it basically says, like, for anyone who doesn't really like know about field tilt, was just like a basic too long didn't read explainer. It's the amount of time spent in the opposition's final third. So it's saying that of the time spent in both final thirds, 93% of it was us in their third, and 7% of it was them in our third. So that is wild. That is
And that's
actually
like
wild.
when people say we got lucky last minute winner, it was the same against Villa. Like, sure, the outcome was a last minute winner, but if you look at the underlying data behind it, it was domination. Like, it's sheer probability. Like, you create enough chance. If you create more good quality chances than the opposition, you're gonna win 9 times out of 10. Like, and it just so happened that we were unfortunate in some of our finishing, that it required a last minute specialty finish. But over the course of 98 minutes, to many people's tears, it was deserved. Like, I don't care what people say. That is domination.
No, absolutely. As I say, it's the game in the Premier League this season with the most penalty area touches in the opposition box so far. So the game that had the most penalty area touches before this game was the victory against
It
United.
was United, wasn't it? Yeah, because I remember that surprised me when I heard that.
Yeah, that was about 64 touches in their box too.
Whereas this doesn't surprise me. Like this felt like, yeah, we had just set up camp. Like we got our sleeping bags, got our bloody camps, and like we were just camped in their box pretty much. Like that doesn't surprise me at all. But yeah, I don't know. People are so outcome based in their analysis. It's crazy. Like, have you seen that Spurs fan crying on TalkSport to Laura Woods?
That's one of the best things I've seen. What was it? Wow, all I hear is wow, 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 wow. Oh god. On a Monday, calling up TalkSport to talk about Arsenal after losing 1-0 to Wolves. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to help that lot.
The worst thing is,
yeah.
Oh, go on.
I was just say the best part is if they lose in the Champions League, they might not be back in it for years. And I'm speaking from experience. Like, I don't see them getting back into the Champions League for we know firsthand, right? Like we dropped out and we didn't go back for half a decade. So I don't see how they go back in. And I reckon Conte and Kane both leave. So how the fuck they're going to get back in anytime soon when there's teams like Chelsea who are going to eventually get better with the amount they spent, and United are on the trajectory going up, Newcastle's on the way going up.
Yeah.
Liverpool just slapped United and maybe back, like
that was
how Spurs get back
Man
in.
United humbling.
I can't believe we waited this long to mention that. Actually, but,
honestly, I completely forgot about it.
That was just something else. Like I was
at the women's final. I was at the women's final. I came out. I was like, sorry. It was 3-0, 4-0, got home 7-0. I was like, pardon? And then obviously check Twitter. You see the usual culprits who are very vocal about Arsenal. Like, stay in your lane, man. There are levels.
The same guys who were tweeting when we were 2-0 down and saying that's it, like Arsenal's title race is over. I called this 2-3 weeks ago when they were, I think, 8 points behind us. And but that was when Neville was saying that they'd still come second and stuff above Arsenal. And I said to my United friends, I said, brother, the next time you play in the Premier League, you're playing Liverpool away at Anfield. I said, by then, if we win our 2 games that we have before that, we're going to be 14 points ahead of you, and you're going to play Liverpool. I was like, Are you seriously telling me you genuinely still believe you're in this title challenge? And he's like, yeah, but then you'll have played 2 more games than us. And I was like, okay. Well, now we're 14 points ahead and we played 1 more game than you. So...
And you know what it is? If United fans were just sensible and humble, and there's a handful that are, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, there's lots of good ones out there. It's just a big fan base, right? So you're going to end up with some rotten eggs.
Oh, but unfortunately, there's too many fucking idiots that pop up on my timeline, and I nibble too much. But they've had a better season. That I put my hands out there. I thought they'd struggle to get top 4. So on that perspective, Ten Hag's done a fantastic job, but why can't it just be acknowledged he's done a fantastic job? They've always got to push it and stretch it. They were never in this title race. The 2 times they tried to force themselves into it, they got shut out.
The next game,
20 seconds later. It's just stay in your lane.
I think what really gets me is what they say about their players. I think they've been doing very well, but I think they've just been overhyped. So
they overdo it. Be humble. That's
they've been talking about they've got the best centre back pairing in the league, the best left back, the best CDM, the best striker, the best manager. I know. Why are you going out there and saying this? The receipts are there, right? I don't know if you've seen it, but I've got a photo of it. I'll send it to you after if not. But that goal from Gakpo where Salah crosses it in, Lisandro Martinez got sent to the shadow.
The butcher.
I've never seen anything like it. He's become a vegan butcher now, mate. I've never seen anything like it. Him and Salah are running, and then it's like he just takes a sharp left and runs away. I've never seen anything like it.
Him and I actually think Martinez is a good player, but people fail to. I always say they fail to proactively analyze things. This guy is doing well in a team that aren't camping in the opposition's half like we are. So when you hear some of the shout, I am excited to see how this guy does as Man United then evolve, because they're on a good trajectory. They're going to evolve into a very into a super team. They are if they continue on their trajectory.
I can't deny that.
This guy in a high line, I'm telling you, he's gonna get. He's going to look uncomfortable, and I
have a feeling he's not going to be playing centre back next season. So this is a very outrageous claim. But when we were looking to sign him, it was to play where Zinchenko plays.
Yeah,
I
it
think
wasn't to
he'll
play
move
centre
on to
back.
becoming a. That's what I mean. I think he'll move on to becoming a left back for United and getting the ball up the pitch on that side because
Oh, yeah, I don't think that's
he has
outrageous.
played there
Or
at left back. But I think it's outrageous in the sense that people call him the best centre back, but I don't even think he's going to play
that's
as
why
centre back
it's
as
not.
they
And
evolve.
yeah, and it's the same with Romero. Like people see this like hard man who is the
That
fakest hard man
feisty
I've ever
guy
fucking
and
seen.
like yeah,
Yeah, but like he gets stuck in, and that's like, he is so bad at proactively anticipating danger. He's reacting to everything, and a defender that reacts to everything is not a good defender. Like
and
I'm
this
so
Romero
like
we're talking about, guys. Just to be clear, not
yeah,
Martinez.
that's Romero.
Yeah,
But like yeah, Martinez is
Romero is the
good.
one will slate. Yeah, Romero will slate.
Yeah, Martinez is good, but again, the fact they overdo it, man. Like, just acknowledge he's good. That's it. You don't need to stretch it. You don't need to force it, and that's why this Man United humbling has been so bloody good because
This is honestly
they
been
just.
so good. I'm
And I
so
think
happy.
it's
Like I'm so happy.
As Arsenal fans, we have seen a crystal. I hate it's a buzzword, the process and stuff, but we've seen a crystal clear process for a long, long time. And you've seen the underlying layers, you've seen the structures with bad players, and you just knew with good players it could click. And that's why we've been confident. And we've constantly had people shit on us over 18 months
For
saying,
2 years, yeah.
for 2 years, people have said, no, this is not sustainable. You bottle top four, that's your ceiling. Like, people have just constantly shat on us. And I think why I find the Man United situation hilarious is all of their excitement, which is justified. I'm not trying to take that away from them. They are fully set up to have a successful tenure under Ten Hag, but just acknowledge it for that. Like, that's for the future. That's not for now. Like, top 3, 4 is what they can do right now. And I do think there'll be title challengers next year and beyond. But that's then. And it's when we were saying the same thing. It's everything you're seeing Man United fans feeling was what we were feeling last
And we
season,
were
but we were
laughed
told
at
to shut
about it.
up.
Yeah.
But they're allowed to feel it all. And that's what I fucking love this humbling that they get. And like, obviously I hope their trajectory doesn't come to fruition because we hate them. But yeah, I just long may
I'm just loving
hope they don't
Neville's
get there.
tears, man. He's getting rinsed
He's
like Carragher.
such a
He's getting
uh,
rinsed. He's
he's
getting
such a belt.
absolutely rinsed. He's just even the video of just his reaction on the touchline every time the goals went in, like it just made me so happy.
He's just like a giant man child, isn't he? Like, and he used to be such an insightful pundit when he first came onto the scene, and then I
And
genuinely
he
think
can be, yeah,
Arsenal.
he can be, but he's just so biased against Arsenal and he's so biased for United that he can't comment from an unbiased position about either
Yeah,
of those teams.
but it was Arsenal that was the start of his downward spiral in terms of credibility because his takes on Arsenal. I've never seen someone be so consistently wrong, and then, like I always say, double down on it. So I think that, like,
Zinchenko's not a leader. That's my favorite one yet.
yeah, I know.
That's my
But
favorite one.
yeah, that was my mini rant.
Cool. All right. So why don't we go to our score predictions?
Yeah,
Obviously
I felt I didn't
we got this
include
one
the
right, didn't we? I was gonna say it's
well,
not in the stats, but
we got the
we got the
score
score
right. We
right.
didn't. We got the outcome right. We didn't get the bloody score right. I don't think anyone
We-
called 3-2.
Yeah, no. I think I went for 3-0, was it?
Yeah, we both went 3-0. So we're on
Yeah,
a hat
3-0.
trick of we've done 3 in a row, same scores. But obviously I didn't include like the predicted lineup and stuff for this because
That's
so
fine.
much will be dictated by the Sporting Lisbon 11. If anyone comes out injury free, but like we won't take these score predictions as gospel because like we'll do it again. We're not doing a pod on Friday because I'm
So probably
actually
just tweet out our scores, predictions, or
yeah,
something.
like Nima's going away for the weekend, and I'm lucky enough I'm actually going to be in Lisbon for the game on Thursday. So but I just thought it's a bit
Take
of
some
fun.
spare glasses, man.
I know, honestly, I need to go to the optician. Like these are my glasses from about 12 years ago. They're giving me a headache, man. My prescription's changed since then. But yeah, so score predictions wise, you're on 77% correct outcome. I'm on 73. You've got 15% correct scores. I've got 12. Goals for predicted, you've gone 60. I've gone 62. We've actually scored 59. Goals against, we've gone best defense ever, conceding 11 and 17 respectfully, and we've actually done 25. So what are you thinking for Fulham right now? Tuesday afternoon, so we're still a few days out, but what are you thinking at the minute?
So the way Brentford sliced them up for 3 goals last night with no Polinia.
So I didn't actually see the game.
Yes,
What was
so
the
that
vibe?
really, yeah. So I thought Brentford did very well, and I do think that there is a game here on our hands. I think Fulham have been very good this season. Obviously, like they're not where they are on the table by mistake. We're far enough in to know that they've been playing well. But I just think for me, like Palhinha is as important to them as like Casemiro is for United or Partey is for Arsenal. I think
Yeah.
he's in their shouts for like top two like players of the season with Mitrovic. So it's huge for us that he's out. That is fucking. I can't overstate that enough. Like, it is fucking huge. So we've been conceding a lot of big chances lately compared to pre-World Cup. So
You
I
seen that
don't think
stat?
that
It
will
was like
change.
it's basically almost doubled pre and
I think
post
it's
World
like
Cup. I think it was like
2.3 or 2.6 per game, whereas before it was at 1.15.
yeah, okay, so not quite double, but still it's increased. Yeah.
So yeah, so we're definitely conceding more big chances than before. I think just the lack of Polina really gives me confidence in this game. Obviously, not knowing who plays on Thursday and how the minutes get spread out across the first team versus fringe players is hard to give a very accurate prediction. But as things stand on Tuesday, I'm going to optimistically go for 3-1.
Okay.
I still think they'll score.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go 2-1. I same as you. I think they'll score, but I think we should have enough. Like that's Solomon's bit of a bagsman,
He's
though.
looking great, man. 5 goals now. He's looking
Yeah.
good.
But yeah, obviously, I think we should have enough, but I do think it's going to be difficult. And I think this is the thing I said in the group stages. Like for me, it's not the rotation of the Europa League that concerns me in terms of the Thursday to Sunday. It's more the effect that it has on the preparation the week before, in terms of when you don't have the Europa, that whole week, you can spend whatever split percentage you want on just yourself and then the opposition for Sunday. Whereas it's now split into 4 chunks. It's like yourself and the opposition for Thursday, and then yourself, and then it's like recovery, and then the opposition for Sunday. So it's not even like the fatigue or the rotation. It's just like the actual prep. And I always get a little bit concerned by that, but all of the big teams do it, so it's not really a big deal. But
I think we need to prep for next year's Champions League, right? Like we're gonna have to do this next year, play
yeah,
every 3 days, and we can't play a French team in that.
I
So
am. I actually think he's going to go extremely strong on Thursday, and I feel like I'm kind of on my. And like when I say that, I don't mean like because you look at it and our second 11, I say in speech marks, is still strong. But I think it's going to be like City in the Cup where he'll make 4 or 5 changes as opposed to
rather
change
than
8
like
or 9.
8 or 9, yeah, because I've seen a
Like
lot of predicted lineups where everyone comes in. Like you got like Tomiyasu, Holding, Kivior, Turner, fucking Tierney, Jorginho, Vieira again. Like I think you're going to see like the likes of Xhaka start. I think Martinelli will
me too.
start. I think Nketiah is not ready. I think one of the defenders will play, Gabriel or Saliba. Like I just think we're not like I reckon in every position from kind of defense, midfield, and attack,
There'll
there's going
be
to be
one of
at
the
least one
standard
of the
first
first
11.
team. Exactly.
Yeah,
Like I don't see him changing that element of it. Like he's going to want at least one, and some of those positions, like say in the attack, he might even be forced into having 2. I think he
yeah,
might even have to start like both Martinelli and Saka, and then he
yeah.
might like sub one of them early game states. So I do think we're going to go stronger than maybe people are predicting right now. But there's 2 arguments, isn't there? There's the one train of thought, which is away from home we go weaker, and then at home in the second leg, like we go really strong if we need
So
to win the tie.
I don't
But
get that
you're
train of
thinking the
thought at all.
opposite, right?
I
Yeah, I
like,
was going to
but
say you're thinking the total opposite of that, right?
yeah, I'm not going to lie, but I don't really understand that thought and process at all. I don't know why you would choose to go weak away from home. Like
Surely to go weak
that
at home with the home
yeah, like
fans. Yeah.
but like I'm trying really hard to get my head around that because I've seen that a lot, and that to me makes 0 sense. If you go weak, you do it at your home crowd where you can afford to get something wrong and then change the narrative of a game with your support behind you, not in someone else's ground. And these guys are like, I'm not going to lie, I'm a bit ignorant in terms of how good Sporting are. I know they're 4th in their league table, but they're in the Champions League, right? And like they did Spurs over, like, which doesn't say much, but but like they're not going to be easy at all. And I think the thought process is going to be, and thinking of it as a collective, it's Sporting, Fulham, Sporting, Palace. I think he's going to look at these 4 games as, can I rotate the squad to maximize minutes and freshness, but dominate periods of each game comfortably? And I think the Sporting one is one where he's going to break it down, not just to two legs, but kind of halves within the legs as well, because you can dictate the game state and narrative of a game across two legs so much. And I think it's a case of go in, play your strong team. Like, because whatever we as fans think, I'm telling you, Arteta wants the double. He will want the double. I don't think
He
he's in a
won't throw a
stage.
tournament. Yeah.
Yeah, and why I say that is I believe he thinks he's got the players to go and do that. With Kiwi or Trossard and Jorginho coming in, suddenly that changes the whole dynamic of that second string 11. And so, yeah, I think he's personally going to go strong on Thursday, go strong again against Fulham, obviously, and then look to maybe treat that second leg at home as a bit of buffer room to kind of maximize freshness again. Like,
And
hopefully
that's
give
right before
ourselves a
the
bit of a
home
lead.
game versus Palace on the
Correct.
weekend, right?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Gabriel Jesus? There's obviously rumors. I don't know how accurate they are, but rumors that he's going to travel with the squad. I don't think he'll make
I've
the.
not
Yeah,
been on social media to.
yeah, I don't think he'll make the bench. But we saw at the end of the Bournemouth game something that got
Wait, so say that again.
overshadowed.
He's traveling.
Yeah, apparently he's going to travel to Lisbon with the squad, which is why I'm a bit skeptical of that, because if he's not even going to make the bench, then like, is he traveling just to do the warm down at the end? Like, I don't understand. So
No, well, if he's traveling, he'll be in the squad, in my opinion.
that's the thing. So I don't know if he's ready to be, but maybe it's the case that obviously we saw he did the full warm down that the rest of the squad did after Bournemouth on the pitch. So maybe he just wasn't quite ready there. And maybe rather than what we thought originally, which was he'll get like a few 30-minute cameos and then start, I think he's not going to get his first start now until after the international break, April 1st. So I think what's going to happen is if he travels to Lisbon, I reckon Arteta might give him like 3-4 games of 10 minutes, like build from 10 minutes up, like 10 minutes, then 15 minutes, then 20. I think he's going to be much more careful than I first predicted. And I think he'll then make the bench on April 1st, game week 29. And I still don't think he'll start then if Eddie's fit. So I do think he's going to wrap him in cotton wool and make sure there's no setbacks. And we are going to absolutely rely on this guy going into the run-in. So I'm now less hot on the idea of like, before I thought, he'd get a cameo against Bournemouth and then he might get another cameo against Sporting. I'm not sure he's going to even be ready for the Fulham game yet, to be honest. So that's why I think if he's traveling, I don't think he's going to be on the bench. So I think the first time we might see him is like 10, 15 minutes in the home leg against Sporting, like then 20 minutes in the Palace home game. Then there's an international break. Then you see him for like 30 minutes in the first game back. And then eventually that's where the start comes. That's kind of the way I've got it in my head. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he travels and maybe he makes the squad.
I don't know. To be like, I'm not very knowledgeable on like. I should be because of my injury luck, but
the sports science,
yeah, I'm not that clued up on like recovery times and stuff like that. Like mine would just be an opinion plucked out of thin air rather than based on anything. But I'd say if he's traveling, I think there's a chance he'll be on the bench with like maybe the idea that if the game is going well, chuck him on for 10 minutes to just get that rhythm like we did with Smith Rowe last week. But I don't know. Yeah, in terms of starts, though, yeah, I think it's probably a case of eyeing up that game back after the international break against Leeds. But I think it's more one eye on that April period of.
That's what I mean. So when I'm ready for the
Liverpool
away, we need him for that time.
Because
that I don't see how we go to
Anfield with him.
Yeah, I don't see how we go to Anfield without him and win there. I just don't see it.
Yeah, but yeah, let's. These guys are experts, right? Like, just leave it to them, see what happens. Obviously, it's unfortunate Trossard and Nketiah are both potentially out at the same time. Like, how's your luck with that? But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what team he puts out on Thursday and as a result Sunday. Yeah, go for it.
Let me read out before we get. So we are going to get out of here, but these aren't necessarily questions, but they're more like statements. So I'm just going to put out some of the comments from William in the chat for the podcast listeners as well. He says he laughed off the conspiracy shouts last season. He's not laughing anymore, to be honest. I've always said I don't think it's conspiracy. I think they're incompetent. But now I'm starting to lean more towards conspiracy with my team.
I still don't think it's conspiracy. I just think they're shit. That's
They
like you'll see. Like obviously, we're all so tunnel vision on our own club, but like every club has stuff that goes.
They're doing this to everyone.
Badly.
They're doing shit to everyone. These refs are just terrible. They're
just
terrible.
Awful. But like, it's some of the stuff is so hard to get your head around.
Like, so the Tomiyasu one on that note, he says that is wild. Like, I do think maybe because the players didn't protest, it didn't get reviewed, as you say. And then just a final one. This is a really nice catch because I did not see this. So Ljungberg was on Swedish studio afterwards, and he said that in the academy, Nelson was always seen as the most gifted player for many years. And he also got a bit emotional. So Ljungberg got emotional telling the story.
Nice.
So I think that's just something I wanted to put up because you saw how much I love Nelson, and I do hope he signs a contract. I think there's a few clubs eyeing him up across Europe and in the Prem. And I think it's like an Eddie situation where he won't want to sign if he's not like guaranteed some minutes.
Yeah.
But then like he also knows he can't be guaranteed the first team place. He has to fight for it. So hopefully the fact that he's a boyhood Arsenal man through and through, the first ALM product that was supposed to be part of this growth squad, like I hope we just see him sign and he stays, because I think there's enough goodwill there that he should be confident in himself. Like if he wants to leave because he doesn't want to fight for a place, fair enough. But I think he's got the confidence in himself. And I think that moment, he's going to always remember that moment for the rest of his career. So that might be like, it's not just a goal. That's not why people saying give the guy a contract. Like, I just don't want to lose another academy talent before we got to really see them set the world alight.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I feel like a lot of people just judge players on how they are now. Arteta's a cheat code in terms of personal development. Like under his guidance and tutelage, players can improve tenfold. Do you remember when we got Trossard, people saying he can't really improve? You're already seeing different aspects to his game. Like Arteta is a joke. Like honestly, I'm telling you, he's generational. And again, people won't give him the credit until he's actually won something. But you can see it with your eyes, like how special he is as a coach. And I think someone as talented as Nelson, combined with Arteta's specialty coaching, I think it's a recipe for like something to go boom. And I think Nelson's career could really fly under him. He seems like he's got the right attitude as well. So
so I think that's what Arteta said. Arteta said obviously like he was fit enough to play in the last 2 games. He goes, I didn't choose to use him, which is harsh on him because he's been putting it all out there in training. So even though he's not been making that team, he's been training hard. He's been recovering from the injury and he's been working his way in. And when Arteta thought, what do I need now? How do I win this game? He looked to him and he said, you know what? Your directness, this is what I need. You go and show me, can you do what I want you to do? And he did. So it's
called it earlier.
This is fantastic.
But the balls on that sub to take off Smith Rowe and do that and put on that, like that is incredible. And like that just shows the faith he had in him as well.
Yeah, because no manager is like, Arteta would not be doing that if he's not seen enough in training.
Yeah.
Like he if anything, we've always said he's quite slow to get someone into the team. Like we have had, if you remember, we were playing without a number 10 when Ozil got thrown out.
Yeah.
And we only turned it around when Smith Rowe became the number 10.
Against Chelsea, yeah.
It was like injuries that forced him to finally give some players a chance. And I think it's because of what you said. I think there's just a
similar with Nketiah last year, right? Like where Lacazette was stinking the place out for a bit.
And he still wouldn't get a job.
Yeah.
So I think it's hard to get into his good books. But once you're in there, if you keep working hard, if you do what he wants, I think that the players always say that they find it crazy that like he always knows what's going to happen. He tells them what's going to happen, and it always happens like he said it would happen. So I think they really trust him.
He is special, man. I've said this, like he's one of the best in the world, and he'll be remembered as one of the greats in the game. Not a doubt in my mind, and I can't wait for people to actually outside of Arsenal circles realize that. Yeah,
I'm really excited for that.
So this title race is going to be the death of me, though. Jesus Christ! And like,
I feel like I've aged a few years, and there's still 12 matches to go. My God,
I know. I need to dip into my save. Like, I think there's going to be another 5 pairs of glasses by the end of the season at this rate.
There's going to be a lot of limbs, that's for sure. All right, well, thank you everyone for tuning in live. It's been nice to chat with you as we go through the show.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
We will be back for the review of the Fulham game, and we'll obviously preview the Palace game and see how we got on against Sporting. In the meantime, up the Arsenal. And if you enjoyed the episode, please do hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel.
Nice one.
See you next
time. I'm going to start packing for Lisbon. Up the Arsenal. First European
Enjoy
away
your trip, man. Have fun.
Cheers, man.
See you guys next time.